minutes. They're both available in the packet. Does anyone have any comments or revisions? All right. Then we'll consider those approved. And then the next item we need John for, so.
I was going to say, what could they possibly be doing at this hour?
I used to people working here.
We could smell the paint when we came in.
Exactly. Well,
All right, well then the next piece is the public hearing, but it starts with the staff report.
yes, thank you. Let me grab what I'm talking about here. Madam Chair, Planning Commissioners, tonight before us we've got a public hearing and a recommendation and action for a special use permit pertaining to climate-controlled storage located here, right by the strip mall next to Colburn's. This is 275 33rd Street West. 33rd Street West is over here. This is Highway 316, the existing Colburn's and Crossroads Church building to the east, and then the strip mall building here. Now, this is an amended special use permit, which means there already is an existing special use permit issued on the property. So within the strip mall here, we have allowed and issued a special use permit for climate-controlled storage back in 2021. So as you know, within the building, about 65% of it is climate-controlled storage. What they're proposing to do, the applicant Nicholas Anderson, is to build a new building approximately where this red square is in the parking lot. This would be about 14,000 to 15,000 square feet, and it would be a second climate-controlled storage building. So that's why this is being termed as an amended special use permit. So with this, taking a look at what's around here, what the property is guided and zoned, most of the property here is zoned commercial, as you know from the uses surrounding it, and then we have apartment uses to the west. To the south of the property, we do have residential townhomes. However, the activity that would be proposed through the amended special use permit is on the other side of the building from the residences here. So that's what we have from a zoning standpoint. One thing that's a little bit unusual with this is we're asking for a special use permit today specifically for the use of this facility. And we don't have a lot of information pertaining to what the building will be. We will have a requirement if this goes forward that a site plan approval be presented and be recommended for approval by this board as well as the city council. The site plan would look directly at the building, the engineering, the architecture, landscaping, lighting, those types of details and how it would function. What we're concerning ourselves tonight is looking at the use, how the use fits into the area, and any conditions that we might establish on an approval of that use. Bearing in mind that when we go through the site plan, there may be other conditions and other things that we will be looking for from an operational standpoint here. When we take a look at the term climate-controlled storage, or zoning code establishes that these are individual separate storage spaces which are accessible by customers for storing and retrieval of personal effects and household goods. They're climate controlled, meaning that they're heated and they're cooled. So this is different from a standard mini storage that we have in town, in which those criteria are not part of it. So we would not allow for a standard mini storage within this district, but the district does allow by special use permit climate controlled storage. One other unusual aspect of this property here in the greater site is it is subject to a joint parking agreement between the parcel here in yellow, the Colburn's parcel, and then these two parcels here. They're all subject to a joint parking and access agreement established for the entire site. And what it says here is that this property here is allocated 122 spaces of parking. There's about 94 spaces within this parking lot, and then they're allocated a portion of the parking over here. It's not defined which parking spaces are whose, but that an overall number of parking spaces is available for the varying types of uses that are necessary for the uses that may come in the future. The joint parking agreement also stipulates that there are an additional 54 spaces within the realm of this property that could be used for other things. And so any development taking away of parking would have to be at most 54 spaces. What we're looking at from the conceptual plan right now, it appears that that is something that would be met, and we'd have that as a requirement and verify that upon the site plan approval. So that's a specific aspect to it. This is a public hearing. We did notify people within 350 feet of the property. Have not heard any comments back or questions back from individuals. Within the report, I did calculate through some of the requirements we have as special uses. Some of these, we don't have a lot of information on right now because they deal with some of the operational aspects of the building itself, but I did note those within here. I think the access and ingress to the site is perfectly fine on this one. We'd have to take specific look at the parking areas as we go forward. So we are recommending approval of the amended special use permit. We are subjecting it to a few different conditions. The conditions of the original special use permit for climate controlled storage here would continue to come forward. We'd have the requirements within the report. Those special use permit requirements would be reviewed again at the time of site plan, limited to 20,000 square feet, no activity conducted outside the building or accessory storage of materials and things. So that is what we're proposing for you here tonight. Nicholas Anderson, the applicant, is here as well if you have any questions for him. Thank you. And I should put this one up here. This is kind of what he had shown potentially. So this would be no more than 54 spaces here, a little bit blown up as to how this would function. Thank you.
Commissioner Moss?
Yeah, I have a question. So you had said that there was the original conditional use permit for the original storage in 2021. I wasn't here then. Is there anything in that would be an issue for this particular project at all?
Commissioner, I don't think so. And one of the things I did check on too was if there was any complaints or issues that came up with that original special use permit, and I'm not aware of any. And I should state also that with this amended special use permit, it would not modify any activities within the building itself, would not allow any greater or lesser activities that would remain neutral. This would be on top of it. And I will remind, this is a public hearing, so if you want to open that up at this time, and then we can stand for questions after that.
Okay. All right, so we'll open the public hearing. Would you like to speak at all on that? Or, certainly can, yeah. Yeah, if you want to come up to the front then and share your name and address.
This right here, front?
Yep,
okay.
perfect.
Yeah, hello everybody. My name is Nick Anderson. You're looking for my personal address or the business address or the?
Either is fine.
Okay. The business address is 275 33rd Street West, Hastings, Minnesota. A little bit about myself. I'm actually from Shakopee, Minnesota originally. I'm a self-storage owner and operator. I bought this strip mall in August of 2025. And we also have tenants that are the dance studio and the Snap Fitness. Myself and my partner have been running the Hastings mini storage, and one of the things that we noticed right away is that we're 100% full, and we have a waiting list of about 20 potential tenants at this point. A lot of these tenants are looking for the smaller climate-controlled units that are the 5x10s and the 10x10s. Hastings actually has a fair amount of traditional non-climate controlled drive-up storage. One thing that we like to look at is square foot per capita. So how many square feet of self-storage are in a given area per person in a 5-mile radius, for example. And so what we would call a stabilized market of it has enough storage, not too much storage, and not too little storage is anywhere from like 7 to 10 square feet per capita. And I believe Hastings is right in about that 10 square foot per capita. But what you'll notice is that none of it is climate controlled. And so all of the calls that we get for more storage are all looking for, I think a lot of times it's the apartment renters and folks that are just looking for a little bit more space and want it nice and climate controlled and secure and protected. And so rather than upping our rates and continuing to, even though we're full pushed the rates up. We've kept the rates the same and have decided to pursue a special use permit here. And so we don't have every detail figured out, as John mentioned. Instead of spending money on engineering fees and architecture fees, we wanted to kind of bring this to you guys in a special use permit before we started with that process, and then bring a full site plan to you. So that's a little bit about me and this project. Any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Commissioner Mose?
I've seen some of these units. Are you looking at multiple levels or just one level?
It would just be one level.
One level? Okay, perfect, thank you.
Commissioner McGrath?
I may have missed this. I don't think I did. Do you know about how many units you would be adding?
Yeah, it's a good question. So we are looking to get approved for approximately 15,000 gross square feet. What happens in climate-controlled storage is you obviously have hallways and doors that are not included as like a net rentable square foot. And so typically, depending on the layout of the building, we would assume that 70 to 80% of those, 70 to 80% of the square footage would turn into a net rentable square foot. So let's, for round numbers, say 10,000 square feet of gross building gets built. We would expect 7,000 to 8,000 square feet of actual storage in that. And then the typical unit size that we'd be targeting, the average unit size would probably be between a 5 by 10 and a 10 by 10. So the quick math on that is probably 70, 75 square feet per. So we might be looking at 75 units to 100 units in that 7,500 square feet in that example. So it would be between 75 and 100 is my best guess at this point.
And how many are there now? There's not.
Currently,
there's
there's
not many, right?
currently there's 75
Oh, there is.
in the
Okay.
in the Hastings Mini Storage existing strip mall. So that's actually a perfect example. That gross square footage that I think was approved in the permit originally was 10,600 square feet, and we have 75 units. So probably very similar to what that looks like.
Thank you.
Before we have more questions, is there anyone else for the public hearing, like on Zoom or anything? No. Okay. Then I'll close the public. Yeah, we'll close the public hearing, but then we can continue. If you don't mind just staying up for any questions.
Of course, yep.
I do have a question. When we reviewed and approved the special use permit for the original storage, part of the discussion was that we didn't want it to look like a storage facility right there.
Sure.
Because, it could be turned back to being more of a strip mall. And from the outside, you can see the storage units in there, but it still has that look of a strip mall. The building that would potentially go up, and I know that it's still in the works, but would that building, do you anticipate it just really looking like a storage unit, or is it a type of building that it will hold climate-controlled storage now, but it could be used for other commercial use? It could be.
Sure. Yeah, it's a good
reconfigured.
question. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Yeah, it would probably not look like the traditional sense of what you would see on like a exterior access, drive-up mini storage. It would really just be one building, and then there would be doors, and then all of the actual units would be accessed from interior hallways. So you wouldn't have any, like, when you drive by and you see all the doors on like the orange doors or, any of the ones in town. It wouldn't be that. It would really just be whatever the outside material of the building is, and then an entry door. So it would not be, it wouldn't look like mini storage. It'll probably have a sign saying, some sort of storage, but that would probably be the only reason driving by you would know that it would be a storage facility.
Thank you. Commissioner De Palma?
Hi. Just wondering, because there is a residential area.
Yep.
As far as these buildings go, what kind of security do you provide?
Yeah, it's a great question. We use what's called PDK gate access. So essentially it's a keypad. So each individual tenant has their own code. And so the codes aren't shared between each other. So at the front and the back door, of the existing building, we have essentially a punch-in gate code, and they all have their unique access. So anytime a tenant moves out, that code gets removed from the system automatically. Same thing when a tenant rents a unit, they get a new code generated and sent to them. So that would be the same access control that we would use in this facility. And then as far as security goes, we actually just put in a whole bunch of new LED lighting in the parking lot. So if you drive by there at night, it's all brand new LED lighting instead of it's not incandescent, but whatever was there before. And so lighting's actually a really big deal, more than anything from a security perspective. If you talk to local law enforcement, lighting is the #1 deterrent of theft and crime, more so than cameras and more so than gates, because nobody wants to be seen, doing anything. So it would be lighting, that same PDK gate access, and then security cameras would be what we would be including here.
And John, just to confirm, all of that we would be able to review in a site plan, correct?
Correct. The site plan, we'd be looking at the physical aspects of the building, circulation, engineering, those type of things, correct, and that would come back to you.
So what we're looking at here tonight is more about the use of the space. Is this a good use? Does it fit within the context of other buildings and uses in this space? I have one question. For the other storage that, is in the industrial park, are those types of storage only allowed to the industrial park? It's just this climate controlled that could be allowed outside of that?
Correct, yeah. The units that we've seen constructed within our industrial park and along Glendale Road, those are non-climate controlled, which would be prohibited in this location. So different type of storage.
Commissioner McGrath?
I just have one more quick question.
Sure.
You mentioned a front door and a back door, and I guess I'm curious for the new unit, maybe subject to site plan, but will there be cars accessing it from around the entire building, or is it like
It's a
parking lot?
great question. Traffic flow is going to be really important here. The nice thing is that this main drive is going to be unaffected. So nobody's really coming in. In fact, if you look at satellite imagery of the kind of the north of the blue triangle, that used to be a through road, and now that the apartments are all there, that's just a dead end. And so I actually anticipate, I was just over there before coming, but I actually anticipate maybe being able to even use some of that area because it's still part of the lot, of course, following the setbacks and the requirements, but it might make a lot of sense to kind of reconstruct that area because right now it's just dead space. So it's going to be something that we definitely have to consider, like parking as far as like around the building, and then the flow of traffic. I don't have the answer to that yet. Most likely, you'll probably actually see this building shift a little bit. It's all the way up against the western lot line currently, so a general setback there is likely going to push that in unless we, apply for a variance. So the idea would be to have somebody be able to pull in from the top of the image and get to the bottom, on the left side of the median still have a drive around there. Now, going all the way around the building, don't have the answer to that yet.
That kind of brings up my question. So this right side row of parking, can we still consider that parking if there's no way to drive into it?
Yeah, it's a good question. So essentially what we have is the greater mall area with the Coborns. We have a declaration of restrictions. So it requires us to, as John was saying, to have essentially 60 some parking spaces total available. I don't remember the exact number, and maybe going down from what. So we're able to, per that declaration of restrictions, we can shift these parking spots around. So for example, we like in this image, we wouldn't be counting those parking spaces on the right because obviously that would maybe be the drive lane. Now we do actually have a whole bunch of room for other parking spaces pending, fire code and fire approval. But on the back side of the facility, which actually most of the tenants that come to the main facility are coming in from the back door because it's a double swing door and it's just easier access, which is actually great for the community in my opinion because you don't have people moving their things in and out right in front of the building all of the time. So we have plenty of room to shift parking spaces around. I think the core component is just to make sure we're meeting that minimum requirement of the declaration of restrictions and then the city parking code too, so.
And you said you own the strip mall?
Correct, yep,
So does Snap and the dance studio lease from you?
that's right, yep.
I remember recently a friend saying that the owner of Snap was trying to sell.
Yes.
Would you ever consider just extending in the building you're already in, or?
Yeah, it's a good question. We are actually in the process, my partner and I that own the building, of also purchasing the Snap Fitness franchise.
Okay.
So we really see a benefit to having the gym there. It seems like it gets used a lot. The previous owner, or the current owner of the franchise has just been a little bit removed from the business and hasn't really invested into the business. And so we saw an opportunity to keep the gym in the community. And so that's not a done deal, but we're under contract to purchase that franchise currently. So a long answer to your short question of most likely the Snap Fitness will be staying, even though it's been up for sale.
Would it be more cost effective to put the gym in the other building and keep it all storage?
Yeah, it probably wouldn't be more cost effective. The type of building that we would be building for, climate controlled storage is really just concrete and, there's not a lot of build out inside versus the Snap Fitness that has all the rubber and the flooring and the weights and all of that. So most likely, it was something that we considered at one point, but the reality is even if we expanded the storage to where the Snap Fitness is, it wouldn't be enough square footage of storage to make it economical sense. So we did look at that option, it just wasn't really feasible in our plans.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Anderson? All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you all.
Just open up for discussion among the commissioners. Anything else that people want to share?
I would just say, I just think it's a perfect use for that spot with the apartments right next door. It just seems like a nice fit and amenity for that part of town, absolutely. And especially since, as he said, there's a lack of that type of service in town already. To me, it makes sense, absolutely.
Anyone else?
Is there height restrictions on the building, John, that they could put in? I know you said it's only going to be one.
Yeah, actually, the two outlets, you can answer that if you.
Oh, sure. Commissioner, as far as the height restriction of the building, within the commercial district, we do not. I think maybe 35 feet, so it should be fine. Nothing's higher than that right now.
I think I was thinking if it was going to be, multi-level and then it looks pretty parking constrained already, is there a restriction on how many units that they can have?
On the number of units, no. I mean, from a parking standpoint for storage, we would calculate that the way we do as warehouses, with a parking space every 1,000 square feet.
Okay.
So about 15 for the site we would need.
And again, we'll get that when we
Yeah.
get to site plan, but just in case.
The only thing I'd point out is the declaration of restriction agreement between all of those actually does have height restrictions, but it's not for necessarily this parking lot, it's for the other two outlots that are in front of the Coborns. Those are pieces of property that obviously have visibility to the other businesses, so I think those are limited to one story. We'd likely be keeping this one story in place.
And it's conflicting with your business, so.
I guess my thought, one of the questions that I'm asking is, to myself, is if we approve this conditional use or special use permit, are there other places in the city where the same question, like, could we be consistent? Because there's large parking lots by the other mall, like, you know, so is it something that we could say yes to for other spaces?
Commissioner, I'll provide a little bit of perspective on a special use permit. Generally, a special use permit is something that can be allowed within a district, provided that conditions are established to allow for it to operate without negative implications to the surrounding land uses there. So under this code, we have a limit within commercial districts of no more than 20,000 square feet for climate-controlled storage facilities. We amended the ordinance just before 2021 when we looked at this the last time. And that was one of the concerns that we had, is we didn't want to have an overabundance building space within our commercial districts, but recognize that there was a potential need for this and that it could work within some commercial districts on a more limited basis. But obviously, from the parking standpoint, in a situation like this where you've got a joint parking agreement and joint maintenance, we want to make sure that it not only meets the requirements that we've established for our code, but also meets the requirements of the parking agreement, because we're subject to that as well.
Good. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. Any other discussion? Is someone ready to make a motion? Commissioner McGrath?
All right, I'd make a motion to approve the amended special use permit number 2026-04 for the climate control storage at 275 33rd Street West, subject to the provisions within the staff recommendations and the impending site plan.
All right, thank you. So we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the amended special use permit 26-04. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries.
Okay, well, thank you, Commissioners. I'll note the recommendation for approval. We'll bring that forward to City Council for final action at the February 2nd meeting. Thank you. Thanks, Nick.
Thank you.
Is that all you need me for?
That's all we need.
Okay, all right, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
I'm sure we'll see you again.
Other business?
Other business, well, we had a planning commission, as you know, a couple of weeks ago. The action item we took there for recommendation did go to City Council the following week, was approved by them, so that is moving forward. Other action items for us, I've reached out, we're going to have a training session for commissioners, planning commissioners, all the other commissioners we have, coming up next Wednesday night. So we'll feed you, and we'll provide things generally for commissioners, and then more specific things for planning commissioners as the night goes on there. So I think it's a good opportunity. If you haven't responded back to me, please do so. I'm trying to get a head count there for dinner. As far as our next planning commission meeting, that is scheduled, I think, for the 9th. I don't have anything scheduled at this point, so we'll see what happens. We are working internally on the zoning code with the last draft that we're reviewing internally, so I expect that we'll be taking that up here in the near future, aspects of that, questions that you may have. So that's something that's going to be coming on the front burner. And then as another kind of point of information here, prior to this meeting, I had a planning committee meeting of City Council where we meet with 3 members of the City Council on general planning issues. We do have a conceptual plan that is out there for annexation and development of property located on the north side of the city, just north of the high school, 140th Street, Featherstone Road, down to County Road 42. It's about 160 acres. Tradition Homes has come forward with a concept plan for about 375 units, which would be single-family townhome type of units. So that might be something that's something I believe is going to continue to come through here. Obviously, if the application comes in, it's going to touch place here at some point in the future. So just so you're aware of that. And that's all I had, unless you have any other questions.
How long is the thing on the 4th, roughly? Do you have any idea?
That's going to be probably about 2.5 hours or so.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions or anything? Is there a motion then to adjourn?
Motion to
Commissioner
adjourn?
Simmons? Is there a second?
Second?
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. All right.
Nice work.
Nice.